Welcome to the Financial Times in Beijing. Joining me today is one of China's most prominent contemporary artists, Weiwei, an outspoken government critic who was jailed for nearly 3 months last year. This is one of the very few video interviews he's given since his release. Mr. Ai, thank you very much for joining us. First, I'd like to ask about your case. After you were released, your movements were heavily restricted. How free are you today?
They said I'm free, but they don't allow me to travel. I'm still followed. My phone is still tapped. People who associate with me, like friends, are often still interrogated, so I'm under very serious surveillance.
You're very famous overseas, but within China, your work and your comments, your blog is heavily censored. Do you worry that your voice is louder overseas than it is in China?
I think this is a very weird phenomenon. It seems like overseas for whatever reason. After I was released, I was often greeted by people on the street. Some said, "We know you," or "We support you," or "I know about you from the internet." But my name is not allowed to be mentioned in China. Even with such a big tax case, no newspaper can write about it. No website can say Ai Weiwei is a bad guy. He evaded taxes. No one is allowed to publish such a thing. It's bizarre.
You've written that China's lack of memory contributes to brutality in this country. Do you think that that is changing with the internet? Is China getting any better at remembering its past?
I think the existence of the internet will greatly improve our understanding of memory, because this society is a very autocratic one. The biggest characteristic of an autocratic society is that it's secretive. Nothing is allowed to be openly discussed by the people, and a lot of things get covered up or deleted. But the internet gives people a possibility, the possibility for everyone to ask questions, and to go and discover their own answers. So today, it's very difficult to erase our collective memory.
What do you think of the so-called post-90 generation, the young generation of people born after 1990? Are they different than their predecessors?
Volunteers come to work here almost every day. Yesterday, 14 post-90s youngsters came and asked if they could have a chat. I realised that they're in a new period in which they're cut off from the past completely and absolutely. They're cut off from the past. They don't know what happened in the past. It's like they're starting over again, and they will encounter many troubles in life, because all the issues that have been piling up in society, they will finally fall on them, the post-80s and post-90s generations. For example, the one-child policy, the education issue, growing social divisions, questions of justice and other controversial issues will all become more and more apparent. Every day they're starting to become more conscious of these issues.
The post-90 generation showed up recently in protests in Shifang in southern China. Are they more political than the generations that came before?
They can be free. They use their basic human emotions to ask, why can't it be this way? They have no barriers because they have no fears. The Chinese say newborn calves are not afraid of tigers. The newborn calves don't know how powerful tigers are. So now we have a lot of newborn calves.
Recently, the case of Fen Jianmei, in which a mother was forced to abort her 7-month-old child, has been all over the headlines. Why do you think this case struck such a chord across China?
We often find that a single case is widely watched on the internet. There are several reasons. Things like this have been happening for a while, and people all know that it's very cruel. Before, we didn't have the internet. But today, when everyone is starting to use the internet, one picture has the power to illuminate everything. When I first saw the picture, a girl lies there with a dead fetus at her side. In fact, this picture is already more powerful than all the propaganda the Chinese Communist Party puts out about itself, including the Olympics and the Shanghai Expo. None of that propaganda is as clear as this picture in showing this country's real attitude towards human rights, human nature, women's rights and children's rights.
I'd also like to ask about Bo Xilai, the former mayor of Chongqing, who was recently deposed. Are all Chinese officials as corrupt as he is?
All officials are more corrupt than Bo Xilai. Obviously, Bo is not the most corrupt official. His problem is something else. He's a very stereotypical politician with huge selfish ambitions. Whether he's singing red or fighting crime, he used terrible measures in an attempt to steer the country towards a more dangerous situation. However, the way China dealt with him itself is what one cannot accept. Because Chinese politics is not transparent and justice is not independent, the way he was handled was just another thing that people cannot accept. Even if he is a criminal, there should still be an open process, a legal process to handle it. But even today, there's really no one who knows what happened to Bo Xilai.
This fall, China will install some new leaders in the Politburo. What will this new leadership mean for the course that China takes?
Without fundamental changes, without abiding by the Constitution, it won't be possible for changes to happen to China. No matter which leaders are in place, it will be the same.
Thank you very much for joining us.